Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Owls Perch podcast. Everyone, I'm joined today by Elicie Edmond, soon to be a Bryn Mawr College graduate in less than a week. How are you doing today, Elicie?
I'm doing really great. I am on cloud nine. I feel pretty light. And I'm really excited to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day outside. We've had some beautiful weather recently. We'll get into why you're on cloud nine in just a second, but to kind of let people know kind of who you are. You're a senior. You've been a member of the lacrosse team here. Obviously, like I talked about, you're gonna be graduating in a week. What's it feel like to kind of have wrapped up your 4 years here at Bryn Mawr, and how has that been for you?
It feels pretty surreal. I remember my first year, I didn't stay at the 2018 graduation. That was my senior class coming in. But I remember them graduating and like how happy they all looked. And I thought it was such a long ways away until I was at that position. But now I'm here. So I know it sounds kind of cliche, but it all did really go by super quick and super fast. And I don't know, I feel really satisfied. I feel very accomplished. I made very great friends here and very great friendships, and I'm excited to see where they go. And yeah, I'm super accomplished. I feel super proud of what my friends have accomplished and what like other people on campus have also accomplished on campus. And it's been a very empowering experience overall.
For sure, absolutely. And it's been fun to watch from our end as well. So I'll say that. One of the reasons, or I guess the biggest reason, kind of you're feeling so high and kind of on cloud nine right now is you just found out and kind of shared with the department that you've been awarded as a Fulbright Grant. So yeah. First of all, congratulations from all of us on that.
Thank you.
It's such a huge moment. Can you, for those who might not be really aware, what is the Fulbright Grant? How did you kind of get in the process of pursuing it, and what was that kind of application process like for you?
So the Fulbright Grant is supposed to be a cultural exchange grant between the US and countries abroad and other countries. And it's supposed to be a way for students to engage in a culturally different process and to continue camaraderie between like international relations. And the Fulbright is a really great scholarship, I think so. So they have a different number of grants. I know it's eligible for graduating seniors, grad students, and people who are pursuing their PhDs. And they have research grants, English teaching assistantship grants, a public health grant. I think they added a digital storytelling grant. So they have 4 grants, and a lot of people across the US and abroad actually apply to these grants, and it becomes a cultural exchange between people around the world. And I specifically applied to the English teaching assistantship grant, and that grants graduating seniors or grad students or PhD students the opportunity to go teach English abroad and engage in an entirely different cultural context for 9 to 12 months. Fulbright also covers all expenses, so they cover your travel, they cover, they give you health coverage. They also cover all of like your meal planning. So it's basically an all expense paid trip to engage in something that's like pretty much like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and to go abroad and to meet other people abroad and to understand a sense of yourself and to also have a greater understanding of the world around you. So I found out about the Fulbright actually last March. I got reached out by my fellowships advisor. She talked to me about fellowships that I was eligible for, and the Fulbright sounded like a pretty amazing opportunity. It sounded pretty awesome to be in another country for 9 to 12 months and to have all expense paid trip, and to also have the security of being in contact with the US Embassy in each country that you're applying for. So I started my application actually last May. So it's been like a year-long process. I know for Bryn Mawr, it's kind of, it's a rigorous process all around, but for Bryn Mawr, they really prepare you. So they have applicants who are interested in applying. First, they attend the info session, but they have a preliminary date in the midsummer. And that's when the fellowships advisor, she gives students tips on their applications, and you have a chance to revise it. They have an internal deadline. And after that internal deadline, you meet with the Fulbright committee, and they kind of interview you, they kind of rate you, they ask, why you're interested in it, what are your goals, what are your plans? And after that interview, they give you more feedback on your application. And then there's a national application deadline, which is the external deadline in mid-October. And that's when all applicants are supposed to submit their materials for whatever grant that they're applying to. And it becomes like this year-long wait. So in January is when people find out whether or not they're semifinalists. So in January, at the end of January, I was finding out that I was a semifinalist. I was super pumped, but it wasn't the end yet. And from March to June, that's when people find out if they're finalists in the respective countries that they're applying to. My process was a little bit peculiar because there's also, in the middle of a pandemic, a lot of the Fulbright grantees actually haven't been out yet. So I think more of them are starting to come out, and as vaccines rollout starts to begin, and as conditions start to get better in other countries, travel is starting to be up again. So they started to, in my particular position, I was reassigned. So I originally applied for South Africa, but they were opening an English teaching assistantship grant in Botswana, and I took the opportunity. And then a month later, I found out that I got it. So I was very, very, I was very proud. I was very happy. I've never been to Botswana. I've heard very great things about Botswana. I've only been to one country in Africa, and that was Malawi, and I had a very great experience. So I'm really excited about this opportunity and to be involved in that cultural exchange and to get a better understanding of another country, and to also help them understand what it's like. I mean, my positionality being a Black woman in the US, and understanding that relationship, and hopefully building a transnational solidarity. So I'll be in Botswana, I'll be an English teaching assistant. I'll either be in a secondary school or in a post or in a higher education institution, and I will be assisting with other educators in English learning classes. I know in Botswana, English is the official language, but there's a lot of colonial barriers that comes into learning English. So I'll be helping students navigate a post-colonial barrier that wouldn't be accessible to them. And with that, I'd also be engaging with the students I'd be working with. So I hope to start a creative writing club and to engage in a form of writing, not only to formalize their sense of understanding of English, but also to just make writing fun and therapeutic, and something that's like not as burdening to do that most people see that it is. And with that, I also hope to do a little bit of other research. I'm not sure yet, but I'm hoping to do my own exploration, maybe getting into some other literature scholarship, and just getting more of an understanding of Botswana and how it came to be today. And also, I do encourage a lot of Bryn Mawr students who are eligible to apply to these fellowships to apply. The Fulbright is a great opportunity. I think anyone who's interested in it can reach out to Eleanor Stanford. She's the fellowships advisor, and she was super great at my application process, and she's a very helpful person. Fulbright isn't the only opportunities. There's the Watson, there's the Shoresman, Gates, Rhodes Scholarship. So there's like a lot of other scholarships that rising seniors can apply to if they are looking to take a few years off before going to grad school, starting their PhD, med school, whatever. If you are eligible to apply to these fellowships, please do it. You're amazing. Like you can do it. Don't let your self-esteem get you down. And that's all I have to say.
Very cool. So obviously you talked a little bit of in your first answer about kind of feeling like you're leaving Bryn Mawr empowered, and kind of that sense of empowerment that you've gotten out of your time here. You've been involved in so many different things on campus, so many different groups, and I'll let you kind of speak to those in a little bit. But one thing that athletics has really benefited from your voice in this past year has been the BMAA. And I was hoping you could tell people a little bit about what BMAA is, how it came about. This has obviously been an important time in the history of Bryn Mawr College in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and building an anti-racist environment on campus. And I think BMAA has really helped the athletic department take strides forward in that, even though there's a lot of work left for us to do. So can you kind of describe your role in BMAA, how that came about, and kind of what you're hoping it continues to do beyond your time here at Bryn Mawr?
Yeah, so Bryn Mawr Athletic Alliance is a social support group for scholar athletes of color, and it's supposed to help them thrive and succeed in an accessible and sustainable environment. So BMAA came about basically, like you said, this past year has been very historic. There's been a lot of statements from institutions, not from Bryn Mawr, but from a lot of institutions, especially as the Black Lives Matter movement came to its peak this summer. Social media was completely off the chain. There was a lot of protest in a lot of states, and I know other countries kind of became involved. So it became this global reckoning of not only are we in a pandemic, but we are also recognizing that there is another pandemic of racism and anti-Black violence specifically that has been disproportionately affecting and marginalizing Black people and a lot of other people of color and disenfranchised people for many years. And in the US specifically, I believe that the pandemic, both of them, anti-Black violence and COVID-19 pandemic, which are interrelated, caused institutions to make this like sort of reckoning and awakening and start to declare themselves as anti-racist and things that they can do to move forward from that. So with that, this is actually, I give full credit to the two women at Haverford who started Haverford Athlete of Color Coalition. So over the summer when institutions were making out statements, and when Haverford Athletic Department made out their statement, so all of their scholar athletes of color got together and they wrote a very beautiful statement to their athletic director and asking for simple demands and asking for reformation and reform in the athletic department and more inclusive diversity and accessibility, not only for like Black athletes, but for Asian athletes, Latinx athletes, all athletes, and athletes who are specifically not only people of color, but who are first generation and low income students. And I thought that the letter was incredibly beautiful. That also came about when there was 15 Black women across Black students and women across the BICO who wrote a beautiful 15-page document for Bryn Mawr and Haverford colleges, asking for demands, asking for civil reparations and reform to get the institution to become more anti-racist. And in response to that, both institutions responded in the ways that they did. And obviously, as we came into the fall, that was another historic moment when the student-led strikes began, and you had first generation, more specifically in Bryn Mawr and Haverford colleges, first generation low-income students who were striking, divesting from the institution so they can understand that our lives not only matter when we're dead or when we're like in a hospital bed, our lives matter now when we're living and breathing and when we're contributing to the overall sustainability of the college. So again, I give like complete credit to the students at Haverford who led that strike. I thought it was a very beautiful thing to do. It was very empowering. It was very encouraging. The ways that they planned it, the ways that they divested from the institution, and they made the institution administration reckon with the fact that if they are not contributing as much as they did, because a majority of students of color, first generation low income students, do put a lot of work and time to make sure that their communities are something that not only they can thrive in, but that future students can thrive in too. And it's not just for students of color, but it's for everybody. Like they're doing this for everybody. And students at Bryn Mawr, Black students, brown students, Latinx students, Asian students, we all did the same thing and we all came about. So after that student-led strike, I kind of got together with a few other athletes of color, and I was like, there's been a lack of a social support group on our side. Haverford Athlete of Color Coalition started very beautifully. Now they're up and running. They've been working with their administration, and I wanted the same for Bryn Mawr. And I also wanted more solidarity between the students of color, the women of color, more specifically at Bryn Mawr, and the women of color at Haverford, because I feel like it's a very disconnect, and I hope that as the years go on that relationship can continue to grow. But yeah, so we all kind of got together like these Zoom calls. We were planning over break, and then we kind of just dropped it. Like we made a constitution. So it wasn't just me, it was other wonderful students of color who are also athletes of color, more specifically, who are also helping me with this. We all know what it's like to not only be a student in a predominantly white college that is very prestigious and elitist, but also being in an environment where we want to get competitive as teams, and as recruiting classes started to come in, then that's when you started to see that the social aspect of athletics started to shift, and the diversity on the teams, I should say, quote unquote, started to shift as well. And yeah, that kind of came about to be, we were kind of working through it this semester. We're still working through it now. So this semester was a little bit our launching point. And we're all hoping that this can be more sustainable throughout the years. So we want it to be a social support group. We want it to have not only help first years navigate it, introduce first years to other parts of campus, first years of color, like athletics isn't the only part of campus that exists. That is like one thing I've noticed about being an athlete, is that once you are on a sports team, you kind of just like become very integrated into that part of campus. But there are other parts of campus that exist, and other student-led groups that exist as well. And we wanted to introduce students to those parts of campus. And we also wanted to account for the athlete and non-athlete divide, because it's starting to become a little bit apparent at Bryn Mawr, and the social aspects. Bryn Mawr is a very peculiar school, but the social aspects of navigating that was a little bit difficult. So we hope that this group can account for some of the disconnect that is within athletics, not like just administration wise, but also student social wise on the student aspect, and hoping to integrate that more into the larger campus. So it's we did a lot this semester. We had like a lot of meetings. We had our first Scholar Athlete of Color recruiting panel. Again, credit to Haverford Athlete of Color Coalition, because without the work that they did, we really would not have any framework to build off of. And they have been super helpful. More specifically, the women of color, the athletes of color at Haverford have been incredibly helpful in helping guiding us and to building our respective athlete of color alliance here. So it wasn't, I'm very proud of the athletes of color at Bryn Mawr and the athletes of color at Haverford, students of color on both campuses, for doing what they did to not end these anti-racist statements at like a blanket statement that was sent to a student body. But these are things that we're looking for. We're looking for accountability, transparency, and progress. And we hope that these groups can not only help support that, but that they can also be a student resource as well. Like Bryn Mawr Athletic Alliance is mainly a student resource, and we're hoping that it can help help students of color become more, sorry, I'm like all over the place, but it can help students of color thrive and succeed in an environment that's meant for them.
You talked about how important it is to be involved in campus outside of athletics and some of the other opportunities that have been afforded on campus. And I think that really speaks to kind of the benefit of like a liberal arts education and the Division III athletics model, where you're encouraged to pursue those other things. Can you talk a little bit about some of those other opportunities that you've taken part of on campus? I know you're involved with Eden Cook Center, right? Picasso. Can you kind of tell people a little bit about your background outside of athletics as a student here at Bryn Mawr?
Yeah. So thank you for asking that. I'm actually the youngest of 5. I am a first generation college student. My parents didn't go to school in the US. My parents are from Haiti. So now I'm also a first generation American, quote unquote. So Bryn Mawr was a very different place for me. I didn't understand the prestige of it. I didn't know the history of the Seven Sisters colleges. I didn't understand. I just did not know what Bryn Mawr was for, what it meant in relation to Ivy League schools, what it was like, what it means to be at this institution until I got here. And it was a culture shock coming here and realizing that, oh, like I'm like not the smartest person in the room anymore. Having to balance my workload, not only being an athlete. I know a lot of other athletes deal with this too, but also working and also trying to build a form of social support that isn't just in athletics. So I always knew like my teammates were always a sense of support, but I also like looking around me, I'm like, wow, so there are so many great people around me and I want to get to know all of them. And I also want to build other support systems outside of athletics. And it also became kind of isolating being one of the few Black people on the sports teams and knowing that my experiences navigating the school is going to be a lot different from majority of the athletes. So I started to be involved in Picasso. Picasso is the Bryn Mawr African Caribbean Student Organization. That's another student-led affinity group specifically for students who identify within the African diaspora. And they're there, that's a social support group. They host events, they host like fashion shows, parties. I know they host like other like stress relieving activities, but through that group, I met other students and I got to build relationships with them and also meet students who I could relate to and who could help me navigate Bryn Mawr in another way that wasn't in just athletics. And with that, being involved with Picasso, I also became introduced to the Eden Cook Center. So the Eden Cook Center is a cultural center specifically for Black and Latinx students. the Eden Cook Center came about. And Eden Cook, a little history, Eden Cook is the first Black woman to graduate from Bryn Mawr. She ended up getting her doctorate. I know she did something amazing with STEM. I'm blanking on it, but she is an incredible woman. I highly suggest you all look her up. And she has like paved the way for many Black students and other students of color at this institution. Without her, I wouldn't be here today specifically. So Eden Cook Center came about after the demolition of Perry House, which was the Black, Latinx and Black Cultural Center previously. The college kind of let that cultural house deteriorate, and it was a loss of history. And one way to compensate for that, students rallied and they wanted another cultural center to not only preserve the culture within the Latinx and African diaspora, but also to give students a space to meet other students and to give them a space to just breathe and relax in a space where some of them, most of us don't feel like we belong. So the Eden Cook Center, I've been involved with events in that. I am on the ECC community board, and that is a board where we host monthly events for members involved with the Eden Cook Center. And those are just social events where we have like paint nights, and one of those in-person events, we had like food and fondue and game nights, and we just met other students on campus, and we were involved in creating that social support system and that relationship. And that was also a very formative experience. I shout out to the ECC community board. I know another athlete is also involved with that, and I loved every moment of it. It was super nice planning those events and meeting other students on campus, specifically this year, meeting other first years, and having a good time that wasn't just like taking a break from academics, from athletics, and we were all just people existing within this space. So that was super cool. I'm also involved with the Bryn Mawr Black Student Libertarian Coalition. That was a coalition that came out of the strike, and that coalition specifically is to help the institution navigate its anti-racist demands and to keep the institution accountable for its progress. So that is a group that are students basically for change, students who are advocating for change, not just Black students, but all students who are involved with these efforts. And that was also a very formative experience. Anyone who wants to be involved with the BSLC, I highly suggest you guys being involved with it next year. I know they're going to plan other events, and that's been a pretty great experience. And I know, I've been involved with the dorm leadership team. So the dorm leadership team is the leadership team in each dorm, and we've kind of we help facilitate the residential operations in each dorm. I've been in HA for the past 2 years. I've loved that too. I've loved getting to meet other my peers on campus, getting to meet other dorm leaders in my dorms, and getting to work in that team relationship. So like athletics hasn't helped me just like working with the team, but like all of these things I'm working with the team. So like I don't have to be on a sports team to be working with other people, but it can be like a dorm leadership team or like a serving team or like the ECC community board, that's another team. So all of these are interconnected with me working with other people and getting to meet other people and to also help other students navigate the campus. So that's been pretty formative as well. I'm pretty sure there's something else that I'm blanking on. But those are like the ones, like the top 4 that I've been pretty fond of my past 4 years, and I highly encourage even like athletes. But that's one thing I've really enjoyed about Bryn Mawr is the fact that I've had the opportunity to be more than an athlete and to get involved in these spaces and to also build a support system outside of athletics. So not knowing that there was other parts of campus that I can resort to where I can also understand my sense of self and also get to meet other people. So that's been a pretty great experience.
You have definitely taken advantage of probably as much as Bryn Mawr has to offer. It's been very cool to see. You're not just someone who came to college and sat around in their dorm room all day. So obviously you've been involved in a lot of different things that have been very important to you and to your experience here. I know you through athletics. I enjoyed seeing you on the lacrosse field for 4 years here. I know we kind of missed a chunk of your career due to the pandemic and everything, but can you talk a little bit about what lacrosse and what athletics has been to you here, and how it's been for you to kind of see the evolution of the lacrosse program during your 4 years here, and kind of what that part of your college experience has been like for you?
Athletics for me specifically has been more something that I felt dear to me because I didn't have the greatest athletic experience in high school, and I saw college as like, okay, this is my last chance to actually make something of myself in the sport that I love. So I really like getting the Courtney workouts. Shout out to Courtney for all of the great badass workouts that she's had us do these past 4 years. I've learned how to work out in the right way, correct form, and to take care of my body. Athletics has been like a structure in my day, so I've learned how to manage my time. I've learned how to do assignments quicker than like possible, and to also put things aside. Like, it's been a stress reliever as well. So those 2 hours on the field has been something that I can just look forward to just relax and to just have fun. More specifically, I think it's been pretty nice seeing the transformation on each team's Bryn Mawr teams. I know coming in, Bryn Mawr Athletics was like in a very peculiar position because they wanted to get the sports teams more competitive, and the culture of athletics was like changing. And now that it's my senior year, it's been really nice to like see the field hockey team like winning. I think they won a conference title, but like winning, like going into conference tournaments, beating teams that they haven't beaten in like years. And more specifically for the lacrosse team, it's been really nice seeing us break records, seeing the team get better as we have been, and seeing the team form and mesh and gel, and helping and seeing us elevate to that next level of lacrosse that I know that we can be. So I was really nice being, even though like we didn't have a season this year and like part of our season got cut short last year, it was very, very affirming seeing the team go undefeated for the games that we have played thus far. That did show the progress that we have made. And more specifically, I love the conference games. You know, we always come in as the underdogs, and how the team has elevated itself since. Like, we have nothing to lose, and I'm very excited to see where this team goes with that. I'm very excited. Like, I tri-coast of Swarthmore, Haverford, all very competitive games. All my favorite games, like the Centennial Conference for lacrosse, it's a very competitive conference, but we can compete in it. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to compete in it. We have the athleticism, we have the skill, and there's a lot of people who are very committed to doing that as well. But one thing I do like about the lacrosse team is that there are also people who are passionate about the sport, but also passionate about other things on campus. So it's been really nice seeing some of the younger teammates take on other leadership positions on campus and take on, like, I know one of my teammates is a traditions mistress. A lot of my teammates are HAs on the dorm leadership teams, working in the dining hall. So seeing like the athletes on the lacrosse team not only be committed to athletics, but also be committed to integrating themselves in other parts on campus. And I couldn't be any more proud of them. They've been, a very transformative experience. I've made some great friendships through the lacrosse team, and I can't wait to see where these friendships go. But yeah, I am gonna miss playing on the field and working out and like, you know, getting ready for a Man U or like a run test, but it's been a pretty nice experience overall. But I am grateful that as much as it was a big part of my experience, it wasn't the only part of my experience at Bryn Mawr.
For sure, absolutely. Well, we'll definitely miss you. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I'll kind of end with this. So how long does the Fulbright grant last, and kind of what are your plans for post Botswana, and what are you hoping to maybe get into after that?
So Fulbright grants usually last from 9 to 12 months. I'm not sure how long my grant will be, around 9 to 12 months. I'm still waiting to hear some information back from them. But post Botswana, I hope to, relax a little bit, take a little bit more time off from school. I hope to get into grad school and applying to other programs. Hopefully working in other educational opportunities, if it's not in a school setting, nonprofits, something like that. I'm not sure what my goals are right now, but I do have the next like 2 or 3 years kind of planning it and seeing where I go from there. But yeah, those are my short-term goals for right now.
Awesome. Well, we'll really look forward to seeing how you'll continue to kind of go out and impact the world. It's been a blast getting to know you in your 4 years here. You'll definitely be missed, and please make sure you come to at least a couple homecomings over the next few years or so we can keep seeing you and keep hearing updates about how things are going.
Thank you so much, Travis.
All right. Thanks, Elicie.